jacket on. You look so like old.
So I am old.
Good point.
Right. Almost 40 years old.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. I'm your host, Jay, with your favorite co-host, Jimmy. Thank you for checking us out here on YouTube, as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're there, please like, subscribe, rate us, and review us, and give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Meh, give us 5 anyway.
Gifted.
So, on today's episode of Unfair, we're going to dive into Kansas City's collapse, AFC and the NFC's best teams, a little bit of Sooner magic. Jimmy's got us a fill in the blank type game. We're going to jump into the NBA 75 snubs and those that should be kicked out of the club. Hit us up on the Unfair fan line, 430-901-1906, and leave us a message and let us know what you think of the show. Give us your strongest opinions. You might end up on here, your best takes. Let us know what you like, don't like, you know, all that jazz. Or just call and say hi. We'll take whatever at this point. So hit us up on the Unfair fan line, 430-901-1906.
Oh, man. Jam Master Dr. J. What's going on?
What it do, babe? What a weekend, Jimmy. What a weekend,
Yes.
man. It was a homecoming at our alma mater.
Yes.
We got to kick it. We had the greatnesses of college football, NFL. It's actually kind of a boring college football season, but it was a more interesting NFL weekend, I guess. Not interesting college football weekend, more interesting NFL one, especially with the collapses and all the crap that we dealt with. But good upsets, shocking revelations. It was a good football week. It was a good sports weekend.
Yeah, you had the NBA beginning.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the NBA. It started last week.
We'll get into that a little bit.
One of these days. One of these days we'll shift from an NFL show to more a balanced show. But right now we're football. It's college
too
football.
much.
And if there's so much going on to be talked about that we have to go through. And there's one thing I wanted to mention real quick before we dive into everything, and we'll talk about college football later. Something I forgot to mention back. I mentioned how this college football season is feeling like the 2007 season. And oh boy, we're getting more and more like it now. And remind me, as soon as we get to the college football, when we talk about it, I'm going to give you guys all the details on to why. So thank you for checking us out here on YouTube. Please leave a comment. We love them. Of course, I reply constantly. Jimmy's starting to get involved and chopping it up and arguing with y'all, letting them know how bad his takes are. We will take it at this point. But with that, Jimmy?
I don't know if you noticed, but they love my takes.
About that.
Mostly. Yeah?
No. Okay.
All right. So, speaking of a lot going on in the NFL, Jay, one of the questions going into this NFL weekend was the Kansas City Chiefs coming in at 3-3. Can Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid right the ship going to Tennessee, a place that you have frequented, and were welcome, as a matter of fact. And the Kansas City Chiefs left us, I don't know what you want to call that, on the field. 3 points, but that is to sum up what happened in Tennessee. They got destroyed 27-3. They left a turd in the middle of the field yet again this season.
Jizzed everywhere. It was
to
so bad.
Fall to 3-4. Patrick Mahomes didn't finish the game. Took a bad hit in the fourth quarter. Looked like he was able to come back, but the game was already out of hand. Couldn't make it back. He had 1 interception, 4 sacks, had a QBR of 6 in this game, if that tells you anything. But they fell to the Tennessee Titans, who moved to 5-2, which we'll get into a little bit later. And were completely manhandled by them. So with this, Jay, with Kansas City taking this type of loss, can Kansas City get back on track?
Can they get back on track?
Like what is the number one reason, as far as what you've seen, why this keeps happening, and can they get back on track?
Their problem is personnel. They've got a personnel issue right now, especially on defense. DVOA wise, going into this game, they were ranked 31st in run, 31st in pass, which means they were ranked what? 31st in defense. Right. Their defense is really bad. I saw that they pulled Dan Sorensen out for the most part to try to help mitigate some of the bleeding. But I don't think that fixed anything for them. They're really bad. They're just a bad defensive team. Let's go into the next thing. Offensively, their offensive line is bad. And that was the problem going into the Super Bowl. And the easiest way to beat Patrick Mahomes is to rush 4 or 3 and drop everything else back. and they can't do anything. And also getting pressure on them at the same time, which is really hard to do in the NFL. It's not a very easy thing to do. They're doing that to the Chiefs. And so we laugh and talk about how, I guess like the biggest thing that talking heads are saying is that people are figuring out the Chiefs. No, they're not. They're figuring out Patrick Mahomes. No, they're not figuring out Patrick Mahomes. They're figuring out the Chiefs don't have a good offensive line, and they're attacking them. And then, of course, they're dealing with injuries. The last thing, Mahomes. I've said this every week, Jimmy. I've said this every week. He's getting too loosey-goosey. He's getting too comfortable. He's into himself. Scouting report on Patrick Mahomes coming into the draft. You know what the problem was with him? Makes bad decisions, has a tendency to turn the ball over. What do we see this year? Making bad decisions, having a tendency to turn the ball over. So it's honestly front to back. I think you can add coaching in there too, but I don't know. But overall, they're spiraling fast. And I don't know if this is something that's easily fixed.
I think that Tampa Bay broke them in the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I think what it was that they broke this veil of fear that Kansas City had been able to instill in front of them, where teams going into a game against Kansas City, you approach it with a sense of fear because there are so many dangerous things that you have to worry about.
Right.
Now, part of why they were broken was, like you said, because of that offensive line and because they couldn't stop the GOAT on defense. And I mean, really, who can? But that broke them because when you go into this season, I don't think it's so much that this offensive line is bad. I think that because teams fear them less, they're pinning their ears back and they're really going after them in a way that they hadn't before because there was so much to fear. Now there's nothing to fear. Now they look like mortal men. Now it's like you see the old man in the Wizard of Oz turning levers and trying to promote these illusions in front of you. But now that isn't there anymore. Now the word is out. Now there's blood in the water. They don't fear them. It's just like the Golden State Warriors. When that dynasty was in full swing, every team walks into that game, most teams being afraid of them. But it takes with a finesse team, it takes having to overpower them. It takes having to really hit them in the mouth. And that's exactly what is happening with this team. You already mentioned both lines. Offensive line is getting taken advantage of. Defensive line is getting taken advantage of. I don't know if Chris Jones played in this game against Tennessee. I mean, if he did, it doesn't matter because they actually did a decent job against Derrick Henry. I will give them credit for that. A.J. Brown got off, and Tannehill had a good game, but they did a pretty good job against Derrick Henry. That's about all that went right in this game. But throughout the rest of the season, they've got to find a way to get that fear back, to get teams to fear them, to where they're also, not only are they trying to stop the offense, but they're worried about their own emotions, this fear that people tend to approach this team with. Yeah,
and the Chiefs were looking at moving Chris Jones back to, defensive tackle outside of playing the end, because on the end he was not a threat to anyone. And so their pass rush isn't that great, but he did come back from being injured, and that's kind of one of the problems they've been dealing with too. A lot of the teams have been dealing with injuries over the last few weeks, and that's of course eating into everything. But I don't think it's that teams don't fear them. I just think that their personnel is bad, and people realize that their personnel is bad. Like, I think teams still have a fear of them getting of them getting up or them coming back from a lead. But I think at the same time, I think this is one of the problems we can go with as far as coaching when it comes to Kansas City. One of the biggest complaints I had about Baltimore is that as dominant of a run team as they were, if they went down by a touchdown or two, they immediately panicked and changed the whole game plan. When in all actuality, you don't have to do that. You can just keep going and playing the same type of game. You don't have to get all the big plays to quickly come back. If you grind a team out and then your defense comes out and does their job, you don't have to worry about, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about them actually getting too many points up on you. Kansas City seems to be panicking when they get down because they realize that their defense can't stop me from catching a pass across the middle and scoring a touchdown. Right. And that's where the problem is. They're running plays like they're trying to hurry up and get these big plays, and it's not working. Teams are prepared for at least that portion of it. They know that Tyreek Hill is going to eat you alive, so let him catch a few underneath, have enough people there to snatch him down immediately. But if you're getting pressure on Mahomes right there in the pocket, I mean, where's he going to go? What passes is he going to make? He's not making and outside of that, he's also making very bad decisions whenever he's getting sacked. He's thinking that he should be flicking it out while falling to the ground when he should just take the sack and move on to the next play. Because if you didn't notice this, Mahomes has one or more interceptions in 6 straight games, most in his career. Longest streak in his career. Never had. He has 9 interceptions this season, 8 over the past 5 games, and he had 5 interceptions in 2019 and 6 in all of 2020.
I mean, and with that point, so I think this fits into what you're talking about. They have to get more boring. They have to forget that they're the Kansas City Chiefs of these last 3 seasons, and they have to max protect more, maybe two tight end sets, running the ball more, and like you said, hitting those underneath passes with the kind of rush that he's getting. If your scheme, at least on that particular play, is focused on reads that are closer to the line of scrimmage, those underneath passes, then you can still hit those in order to open it up down the field. Because it's obvious what they're doing is the exact same thing that Tampa is doing. 2 high safeties all the time.
In
order to neutralize Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
So you have to make them pay for that. How you make them pay for that is hitting the flats, is running the ball, and hitting those underneath routes to force them to have to move their guys up.
You mentioned the key thing.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
Exactly. No, they got to run the ball. Yeah, right. They
can't do that
because
their line is too bad.
Right. Andy Reid and Bieniemy, who was a running back, should be way more patient with the run game. Darrell Williams is he's not Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he can give you just about.
He ain't Damian Williams either, but he's enough.
He can give you just about as much as Edwards-Helaire was giving you when it comes to running between the tackles. As a matter of fact, I think he had back-to-back 100-yard games Edwards-Helaire did before he got hurt. So they got to go back to that. They got to forget the Kansas City of old and be the Kansas City that you need to be right now.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Then you can go back to being that old Kansas City.
Then you can. So KC, listen to us. That's what you need to do. You really need to do that.
Yeah. So with that, Tennessee. Fantastic game. Obviously, we didn't talk enough about them, but they go to 5-2.
Why would we talk about them?
Because
they played the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. They better have won this game, even though I'll explain my first and 5 picks. Mm-hmm. But they should have won this game. This is against the worst defense who can't run or pass defend. Mm-hmm. But the good thing I'll give to Tennessee is their defense did come out and show out.
They did. They took care of business, and now they moved to 5-2, which is tied. There is if I'm not correct, a 4-way tie. You have 5 teams at 5-2, 1 at 4-2 coming off a bye. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, who just destroyed the Ravens. They're at 5-2. Vegas Raiders at 5-2. Tennessee, as I mentioned, 5-2. Buffalo, same, as well as Baltimore. And then you have the Chargers at 4-2. And on the flip side of that, Jay, in the NFC, outside of undefeated Arizona, you have 4 teams with 1 loss. You have the Rams, you have the Bucks, you have the Cowboys, and the Packers. So with all this, how loaded it is at the top in each conference, it's difficult to tell at this point through 7 weeks or almost through 7 weeks just who is the best team in each conference. So right now, with what you've seen these last 7 weeks, Jay, starting with the AFC, amongst those teams that I mentioned, who do you believe right now is the team you trust the most to be the best team in the AFC?
So I'm going to get a lot of flake on this
okay.
take. And I'm only thinking this because, y'all going to hate me for this. Best team in the AFC? I think it's the Buffalo Bills. This is why.
Okay.
I just think that their defense is the best out of everybody in the conference. DVOA wise, I think they were the top defense coming into the season. Coming into the week. And even that opening season loss to the Steelers and then that loss to the Titans, Josh Allen, if you take those out, Josh Allen's had a really good season. Now, granted, I'm looking at the schedule and they haven't played anybody this year. But I think top to bottom, they are the best in the AFC. I think right behind them, I would give it to Baltimore and then probably Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Even though Cincinnati just beat Baltimore, I think that long-term Baltimore will fare better than Cincinnati. But I do like what I saw at Cincinnati in that game. I just still think that Buffalo was the best team in the AFC. And, y'all know how much I bash on Josh Allen. Whenever he's on, he's on. His bad games, he's atrocious. And he's a show, though. He's a fun show to watch because it's always a great experience and seeing everything he does to mess things up. So I'm going to go with Buffalo right now because they haven't really faced a team that has really pushed them that they should, besides the Titans and the Bills. You
could say the Steelers game was a bad loss, but they haven't been blown out by anybody.
No.
Both of the losses were fairly close.
And that Titans loss shouldn't have happened. And I'll give it to the Titans. They grinded it out with Derrick Henry, who was a monster in that game. Yeah.
For me, I would say, because I approached this as, all right, which quarterback defense combination do I trust the most in a crucial moment? Even if they played a bad game, who do I trust to find a way to get that stop? And so therefore I chose Baltimore.
Okay.
Baltimore, because I feel like Lamar Jackson has put himself in a position. Now, I don't know what happened yesterday, but he's put himself in a position to really start to move towards his peak in such a way that he shuts up all the doubters in terms of his ability to throw the ball. We know about his just tremendous otherworldly running ability. We know about that. But to see him progress this season as he has as a passer, I think that he still has further levels he can reach within this season. And that defense, I thought this defense, again, I don't know what happened yesterday, so don't hold that against me against Cincinnati, but I thought this defense was finished when they lost Marcus Peters, and they have found a way. Other guys have stepped up, and they have found a way to – you can't really replace Marcus Peters, but they found a way to still be a good defense, a really good defense at times in spots that complements Lamar Jackson within certain scenarios of the game. So I would say going into the playoffs, if it started today, I would trust Lamar and that Baltimore defense, and as well. And I love them getting Rashad Bateman back. I think he's going to be a really good receiver.
Big deal.
I would say right now, Baltimore is the team I would trust the most to be the best team in the AFC.
I can't argue against you on that because I was in between Baltimore, like I said, even with the loss, in between Baltimore. Because I believe that, because that spread was 6.5, if this was the perfect letdown situation for Baltimore, though. That was my big thing. I felt like this was the perfect moment for Cincinnati to take advantage of it. That big game against the Chargers. Baltimore still dealing with injuries, but that big game against the Chargers and beating them up at the house. Then when you get to this type of game, I was like, yeah, Cincinnati has it. Cincinnati has. I feel like they have they have the opportunity to show out, and that makes sense for them to do that. NFC.
So one loss NFC teams outside of the Cardinals, or including the Cardinals.
Yeah, you got to include the Cardinals.
You have the Rams, the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Packers. Who would you trust to be the best team in the NFC through 7 weeks?
I'm not gonna bet against Tom Brady ever again because I've done that before, and guess what? Every time I do it, I get burnt. Every time I bet against him, I get burnt. And usually when I bet for him, I get burnt too. But no, to be honest, I think that Tampa Bay is still the best team in the NFC, even though they've lost one game. They did play against a Rams team who was on the rise. They're 6-1 this year, and they've lost one game that what makes sense to lose to. They lost to the Cardinals, who are undefeated. I still need more from Arizona. I don't get excited about teams that start the season off undefeated and think that they're going to win anything because we've seen a team go undefeated the entire season and lose in the Super Bowl. We've seen this a few times. The Patriots, they went undefeated.
We've seen teams, go undefeated through most of the season and barely make it can't even make it through the first round. The Steelers last year were 11-0.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we knew they were a fraud. Everybody knew they were a fraud. I'm not saying the Cardinals are a fraud.
Now, the Cardinals, I do not believe that they're a fraud.
I
think that they've been building up everything that they are today.
Yeah.
But I cannot put all of my eggs in the Arizona Cardinals basket yet. With Kyler looking like he's a little hurt, he's a little banged up. They lose him, they're done. The entire thing's done. But the good thing for them is they got so many weapons around him that if they do lose one of those, they can still function properly, especially with him out there. So I'll give the Cardinals the second best team, followed by the Rams, but I still think that Tampa Bay is the best. Just because, even with all the injuries in the secondary, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady and them. It is. And like you said, who do I trust? Yeah. That's where my trust goes.
It's easy. It is Tampa. I mean, the best combination of run defense plus their ability to run the ball. They run the ball better than the Cardinals and the Rams. And when it comes down to playoff football, when you're talking about January, you got to be able to run the ball. And that's exactly what this team can do. And what I love about Tampa, again, GOAT notwithstanding, they've been doing this quietly because all the attention has been going to the Cowboys. All the attention has been going to the 7-0 Cards. All the attention has been going to these teams that are constantly knocking each other off in the AFC. And here goes Tampa. Just destroying, just winning games along the way quietly. I believe Tom Brady tops in passing yards, just doing it quietly. As funny as that is, off of a Super Bowl victory, they're the most, I won't say they're slept on, but no one's talking about them.
Not as much. And it's mainly because of all of the injuries that they're dealing with in the secondary. So the team looks bad. Richard Sherman's gone for a few weeks, and he just got him. They needed him so bad that he played within like 3 days of getting signed. Right. We're desperate as a team. And of course, y'all know I'm a Bucs fan. We're desperate, but with Tom, anytime I ever bet against Tom Brady with the Patriots, hell, I bet against my Bucs last year. I told y'all I didn't think they were going to do it. They went 11-5. and won the Super Bowl.
I tried to tell you.
He tried to tell me about my own team, and I am a cautious optimist about that stuff. And that was the one thing I can say is I think that this year we got that. So we'll see what happens. So from there, we do this every single Monday. Jimmy's going to slide y'all with the news.
And now Jimmy has the news.
Thank you, Wendy. All right, so Jay, if you want an update on Deshaun Watson, I got one for you. Texans quarterback has a no-trade clause, as you know, in his contract, but is willing now to consider multiple options for a new team as the November 2nd trade deadline looms. Multiple teams are interested in Watson, and although his interest in joining the Dolphins has been no secret at all, the source says they disputed the notion that it's simply Miami or bust. So, Jay, you have teams out there like the Panthers, like the Washington football team, perhaps even the New York Giants, who could definitely be looking to upgrade at the quarterback position, and it looks like Deshaun is willing to consider other options.
Which is a good thing. I mean, he should consider everything. He don't want to be there, and and to be honest, just get out. I mean, especially with everything else looming around, and it seems like everything is still allegations. It doesn't look like there's any movement in any of these cases. And since that's the case, get on up out of there and get on the football field.
I agree. I mean, in each one of those situations, they don't look like bad situations when you add him to that. The Giants, Washington football team, the Panthers.
Panthers still have a good defense.
They still do have a good defense, and of course Miami. We like Miami. We like Brian Flores, so he's in a really good spot. It's just a matter of Houston's willingness in order to really move ahead with this, or let this keep hanging over the franchise.
Yep.
All right, so Jay, I know you're a big Logan Paul fan. And if you were wondering who his next opponent is going to be, I can tell you who it's going to be. It is apparently, this isn't confirmed yet, but it's looking like his next opponent for February of 2022 is going to be none other than Iron Mike Tyson. The details, again, they have not been confirmed as far as where the fight potentially is going to be. But, Jay, I'm sure you were a big Mike Tyson fan like I was growing up. And now we've talked about the merging between the old guard of boxing and this new exhibition, popular, whatever this is, that the Paul brothers represent. Do you think that this could be one of the most lucrative fights of all time?
It's a pyramid scheme. This is what this is. This is a Ponzi scheme. This is what they're doing. They're creating these celebrity fights. They're trying to get people, and they're doing a great job of marketing and all of it to where people are going to want to watch it, and they're going to watch Iron Mike probably walk in there and knock him out because he still has his ferociousness with his fist. If he can get in there and he is close enough to hitting this dude, it's done deal.
I don't think that they think he can still do that. I don't think that they expect him to do that, because that could cause this Ponzi scheme to come crumbling down upon itself. If Iron Mike goes in there and lays him out on they can't afford to let that happen, which makes me believe that either he's not going to be able to do that, or that there's an agreement beforehand, kind of like with that exhibition fight he had with Roy Jones Jr., that, hey, I'm not going to lay you out, you're not going to lay me out. This is for these other purposes.
Yeah,
so I think
more of a workout than it is an actual fight.
Now, again, I said I would never buy a fight with the Paul brothers, but this one has me thinking. Because
No, don't do it to yourself. All right, what else?
I don't know. I'm going to think about it. All right, so lastly, the World Series begins tomorrow, Jay. I believe in Houston you have the Atlanta Braves, fresh off of putting out the Los Angeles Dodgers in 6, against the Houston Astros, who put out my Red Sox, I believe, also in 6. Yep. And I believe the Astros are installed as the favorites to win the World Series. So how do you think this might shape out?
I think it's going to be interesting. I have no clue who's going to win. I haven't paid attention to any of the teams at all, but I would love Dusty Baker to get one.
That's true. I agree.
I will root for Dusty Baker to win one. I know Bomani Jones right now with ESPN is conflicted.
Yeah.
From Houston, lived most of his life in Atlanta too, and so, but he's off the Braves narcotic. So I don't know. I don't even know who he's going to root for. It's a struggle.
As a Red Sox fan, my thing was, as long as the Yankees don't win it, I'm good. We got close. We couldn't pull it out. But outside, this is interesting because, the Houston Astros, they have that revenge narrative that people think they couldn't win because technically they cheated in order to win the championship that they did win, with the trash cans and the system and reading the signals and all that. So this will be an interesting matchup. And the Braves, like we said, haven't won since Bobby Cox was the manager in 1999. So I think it's going to be a good series, but I think there's a good reason why the Astros are the favorite, because they probably are the better team.
I can see that. Is that it?
It's news.
And that was Jimmy with the news.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, now we're back into the world of college football. It's been a interesting season, to say the least. It's probably been the most interesting college football season we've had, I mentioned before, since 2007. I'm going to explain why as we go into Oklahoma's game against Kansas. I'm just going to call it that for now because it was a very weird game. But no, this is why I say this is probably the most interesting season we've had since 2007. So for those that are uninitiated or don't remember or recall, which I know you mentioned you didn't recall what happened, 2007 was the year of everybody and their mama was the number 2 in the country. So the season started off similar to the way this did. Your top seeds was USC and LSU. Somehow West Virginia opened up at number 3 in the country, but they were also the Pat White, Steve Slayton era was ridiculous. And so it kind of just went in the standard format. You know, you had Oklahoma up there, Florida every week, you know, it was kind of standard. Then week 5 hit, and that's when the game changed. LSU jumped up to number 1. USC ended up losing, and California moved into the number 2 seed, which was even crazier, followed by Ohio State, Boston College, and South Florida. Next week, California loses. Who moves up to number 2? South Florida, with Boston College right behind them. Ohio State moves up because LSU lost. Next week, South Florida loses, and then Boston College is the number 2. My point, all these random schools that you would have never expected to be in the top 5 are in the top 5. And it just continued to shift. By week 11, you had Oregon at number 2. Guess who was number 2 in week 12, Jimmy? The team we're about to talk about. Kansas, the Mangino team.
I remember that.
The Mangino team. And then West Virginia took their spot the next week. And it just kept going all the way through until LSU won the national championship. Good job, Nick Saban. So my point is this year has been a wild one that we haven't expected. Like right now, Cincinnati's number 2. Oklahoma can't figure out their lives. And I'm perplexed by this game. Okay. Oklahoma plays Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas. If you watched the game, I went back and rewatched because I was out during the day. I watched the highlights through the day, rewatched it later. If you watched it, there was no one in Lawrence, Kansas, in the stadium in University of Kansas. It was like empty. Their capacity is 47,000. I promise you they had like 2,000. It was just bare. All Oklahoma fans, few blue around there. Kansas goes in and is up 10-0 at the half. On the local radio, they announced that this game is going on and Kansas is winning. Come on into the stadium. No need for a ticket. You can sit anywhere. That's how proud they were for being up 10-0 against Oklahoma, which they have not beat in 16 tries. Then Oklahoma and Sooner Magic kicked in. So, Jimmy, out of what you synced out of this game, because I have a lot to say about this, because it confirmed everything I told you was my problems and fears in this. Also, there's an epidemic in the NFL and college football, and I'll mention that in a minute. What did you see in this game that really jumped out to you when it comes to the score?
That Kansas has been watching a lot of NFL football in the sense of how to defend quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, which is to keep them off the field, even if that means that your formula is run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, and move the chains and have a ball control style offense, which can be effective if the defense on the other side is not able to slow that down, which they really weren't in the first half. Now, the second half was a bit different. First half, they struggled with that. So I think that was Kansas's approach, but it also tells me this, and this was confirmed by Jeremiah Hall, one of the players for OU. He said that they came into the game not respecting Kansas. Now, we talked about fear. Fear is something I think a lot about when it comes to certain teams and why certain teams dominate, why it's hard to perform against certain teams, because you walk into the game with not only having to play this team, but you're also having to battle your own fear. If, let's say, Kansas walks into this game and they know OU, Caleb Williams is quarterback who's going to win the Heisman, Lincoln Riley, video game offense, OU, the tradition, all that, and they're afraid. But once they sense that OU doesn't respect them, that fear turns into anger. Yeah. And with anger, with a team like this that has no business being in a game with OU, that can help you to push them. That can help you to do things you didn't think or they didn't think you were going to be able to do. Nobody expected this to be 35-23. This is usually a 60-10, 60-15 game, and that's what Sooner fans are accustomed to. So I think that there's a big part of it. And I think that fear is diminishing, like I was just talking about with Kansas City, more so maybe when Spencer Rattler was the quarterback. In a sense, teams didn't really seem to fear OU, and that's what they need. That's what they need to get back. So part of what I saw in this game is a team that's not afraid, and therefore there are going to be teams after them who are not going to be afraid of OU, and that's okay because OU can still win. What Sooner fans have to understand is that start thinking less college, more NFL. Less college, more NFL. What I mean by that is think more in the NFL how the majority of games are decided by 4 to 7 points.
Yeah.
They're a little bit closer. Start thinking that as opposed to thinking OU is going to beat teams by 38 to 50. For whatever reason, whether it's the personnel they have just this season or the coaching, they're not going to be able to do that. Just be happy that they win these games.
Yep.
Be happy that they're still in the top 4 and in a position to get into the college football playoff because those are the kind of games that they're going to have to win. With Baylor coming up, Iowa State, and OSU, 2 out of those 3 games are probably going to be close games, but OU can win. They're going to be favorites over all 3 of those teams.
And every single one of them, they'll be a favorite.
So start thinking more in those terms. I'm not saying just be glad that they won because they are OU. We do have a certain standard that we expect, but expect these games to be close, but they can still win these games. And this actually will help them when they do get into the college football playoff where it's probably going to be another 4-quarter game.
Guaranteed. And so a lot of the blame to me when I looked at this, it's on all sides. So first off, on the offensive side, the blame you can be is the thing I told y'all 100% on the last couple of videos. My concern with Caleb is those willy-nilly launching out down deep, and they end up being underthrown passes. Now, a couple of y'all jumped into the comments and mentioned that, Lincoln Riley likes for his quarterbacks to throw the ball a little under so the receivers can do it or whatever reason. He likes the passes to be underthrown. Kansas knew that too. That's how they got that interception. He literally threw it. He first pass, he threw it over the receiver, so there was no touch there, which that was my biggest concern with Caleb. I don't think he has a touch yet, and it's only because he's a true freshman. He'll get there. I'm not concerned about him getting there to that point and being great because he's obviously shown us he not only has the physical capabilities of doing it, but you can tell mentally he's ready to grow as a player. So I can see him getting there. But he overthrew a receiver on the one play. Then the next play, when he underthrew that receiver, that corner knew it was going to come under. So as soon as that wide receiver turned his head, that corner turned its head, stepped his foot back, turned, boom, caught it, interception. Perfectly set. And so with that, that goes to the epidemic I mentioned in college football and NFL, that it seems like everybody's purposely underthrowing passes to get those defensive pass interferences that like James Harden, Trey Young, basically fraudulent plays where you're forcing the defender because the corner is the hardest position in football, in my personal opinion. They're the hardest position because they don't know what's going on, and a lot of times they have to watch the receiver and their hips to understand the routes. Unless they can memorize a route tree, I don't expect that in college football.
Right.
But in this situation, that is what we got. Next, the defense side. They let Kansas go 14 plays, 12 plays, 11 plays, 10 plays, and then they finally forced a punt, a 3-and-out, and then a fumble, and then they gave up a big play. But they were, like you said, 34 to 23 time of possession. That's not good. That's a problem.
And I'll add something else, too, in the first half. I think you may have mentioned this before. All the penalties OU kept getting.
Yeah, they love to get penalties. That seems to be their thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that lack of discipline, that lack of first half discipline can still get you by Kansas, and it did. But 1 or 2 of these teams that they have coming up, that's not going to get you by. You can't do that. You have to be more disciplined, more buttoned up than that, because since these games are going to be a bit closer, just because that's just what the season has been and what it's going to be for OU, they can't afford to beat themselves like that, because eventually if they keep doing that, they are going to get beat.
Exactly. That's what's going to cost them. So Sooner fans, I understand everybody's pissed off at the fact that they let Kansas do this, but Kansas has been doing this to OU every year since Lincoln Riley got there. Just don't get it twisted. There was a game, it was 55-40.
Right.
So this is consistent to way Lincoln Riley's offenses have been dominant with really bad defenses. Now that they're starting to get better, and also remember, OU is down like 5 people in the secondary, all veterans. So you got these young guys getting their, they're basically on the job training, and a lot of the time on the job training don't turn out very well.
So they gotta get through Texas Tech, who just fired their coach with their toughest slate of games coming up.
Trap be game. Careful. Be careful.
They got to get through that, get to the bye, and then come out after that and see what they can do.
Yep. We'll see what we get, Sooner fans. We'll see what we get. All right, I'm going to give y'all a quick recap on the Frozen 5. Thanks for checking us out here on the YouTube channel as well as on the podcast. Please rate, review, like, subscribe, do all that jazz. Leave us a comment as well. You can also hit us up on Twitter at UNFAIRSports as well as Instagram at unfair_sports. Frozen 5. Another winning week. So we're starting the season off a little middle of the road, closer to 500, but we had back-to-back winning weeks after I had a bad week. I should have won more, but I'll explain my thinking real quick.
Right.
Because I didn't get a chance to put together a video because of homecoming and a whole bunch of crap that ended up populating that took over. So anyway, my losses. I took the Chiefs minus 5.5. It makes sense to take them on the road as a road favorite like that. I typically hate them, but they burnt me this year. Every time I've taken the road dog, the home dog, it's burnt me. So I took the road favorite, and it burnt me. Chiefs offensively is better than the Titans defensively. The Titans offensively is better than the Chiefs defensively, but the Chiefs offense is better than the Titans offensively, and we just learned a lesson. The Chiefs are in shambles, and that's the situation there.
Stay away from them.
Stay away from them. Eagles +3 in Las Vegas. The fact that Vegas felt like they were quote unquote even neutral site, probably Las Vegas a 1-point favorite on the in a neutral site, made me feel like the Eagles had a chance. Their play calling was atrocious. It was all bad. And I learned a lesson there. Don't touch the Eagles right now as they try to figure out their lives. My winners. Bengals +6.5. I knew it. Perfect trap game. Perfect trap game. It was set up perfectly. When I saw that there was that big of a dog on the road after how their defense, the Bengals defense is ranked 5th in DVOA going into it, I was like, no. The Ravens are ready for this. I said the Ravens win, Bengals cover. I figured it was going to be more of a 3-point game, but then the Bengals went out there and beat the dog out of them. Tampa -12 against the Bears. That Tampa defense is still really good, even though the secondary is bad. And it's Justin Fields. He's young.
I feel so bad.
I feel bad for him.
Oh, that was
I didn't
awful.
realize that their right tackle was the 5th string right tackle. Exactly.
The Bears?
Yes.
Oh,
getting
God.
them just demolished.
And now Nagy has COVID. So just, oh my God.
And then lastly, the Patriots -7. I told y'all the last time I did mine when I went 2-3 is that there are certain trends you always follow. Belichick versus a rookie quarterback. I stuck to it this time around, and because it was the Jets, it was perfect. So Patriots beat the dog out of them, so I got that -7. So went 3-2, solid.
Well done.
Week.
Well done, sir. I'll look to keep it going this week as well.
You better, damn it.
All right,
Or
so
I'll sue
sticking
your
with
ass.
I'll sue your ass.
Call me.
So sticking with the NFL, we typically would do some type of one word, but I came up with a bit of a variation of that, and this is going to be finish the sentence, Jay. So I'm going to give you a sentence regarding the NFL, a player or a team or some type of performance, and I want you to complete the sentence for me. He has not seen these. He has no idea what I'm going to present to him, strictly off the top. So let's see what you come up with. You
I
ready?
looked in his closet, so I kind of have an idea, but we'll go. We'll not say anything.
That was the phony one. I knew you'd look. All right, you ready? All right.
Give it to me.
The Chicago Bears would have stood a chance versus Tampa if they had
Offensive line. That's it. Their offensive line is bad. Like, I'll give it to Dan Orlovsky. He pointed this out today that it was taking less than 2 seconds for that Tampa defense to get to Justin Fields. Less than 2 seconds. You know who the fastest passer, I guess, height to release quarterback in the NFL is right now? Ben Roethlisberger at 2.36 seconds. So just over 2 seconds, he's getting rid of the ball because he's doing all those checkdowns. Justin Fields didn't even have 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. That's how bad they need offensive line.
And it feels like to me like a lot of times NFL teams really underestimate the importance of an offensive line. It's almost like you would rather, there are glamour positions. We know what those are. Wide receiver, maybe cornerback, edge rusher. I mean, and they all contribute. I understand all that. But it seems like the value of an offensive line, especially if you're talking about putting a rookie franchise quarterback behind it, it seems like that doesn't get enough attention from teams if that's what the direction of the franchise is. If that's what you have, a rookie quarterback that you're installing. It's almost like do not put them out. Put Nick Foles out there. Put somebody else out there. Do not put your rookie quarterback out there. You've given up so much to get him, so don't do that. All right.
Yep.
Up next, Sam Darnold asked God, what do I need to do to stop being New York Jets Sam Darnold? And God replied,
leave the East. No, he told him to leave the East. You gotta get off the East Coast. It just seems like there's something about the East. Well, one thing, he is a West Coast kid. He played at USC, and it's just something about being on that side of the country that he's just bad. I am wrong. I thought I need to put together an apology letter to everyone saying that I thought Sam Darnold would be better going down there. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's him. He got benched, so I don't know.
Does Christian McCaffrey? I mean, is he the deodorant that covers up that much stink? Is that what he is?
Seems like it. And that defense,
because there's no way Sam Darnold is this bad, especially against a Giants team who freaking look like the Giants that beat Tom Brady and the Patriots
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know what that's why the NFL is so unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get from game to game. This line, I mean, this looked like a slam dunk. I'm glad you stayed away from it. Carolina -3. It looked too easy to where it was like something's going on.
That's what bothered me, is that I looked at that and I had it in my Frozen 5 initially, and I dumped it for Tampa Bay -12, as well as the Rams. But yeah, wildness.
All right, so I feel bad for Darnold. All right, so next one, by losing to the Rams by 9 points, the Detroit Lions proved
that they don't belong in the NFL.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
No, they didn't prove anything. They didn't prove anything. That's what I'm going to say. They didn't prove anything. They took an L that they should. They took an L. They just got beat up. It was a bad. They did a very good job of the trickeration and holleration at the beginning of the game, and that they basically ran out of gas. It's like a race car, like in Fast and the Furious. You got the car, they get out there and they hit that NOS immediately, and they just fly past everybody. Like, yeah, I got the lead, and then everybody's like, too early.
Yep.
Flicked up and they catch up with them a little bit, and then they hit the button, and they're just like, no, shoot. They hit their NOS way too easy with the fake, with the onside kick, all the trickery. They're just a really bad football team.
And they only played that way, that aggressively, taking those chances in the first half, obviously with the authorization of Dan Campbell. And I like Dan Campbell, but there are certain things I don't like. This is something
better than me. You like him?
I kind of. I mean, this team plays with a lot of heart. They don't give up. And again, they were 16-point dogs in this game. That's part of the reason why I mentioned they only lost by 9. So I mean, they did show some heart and some toughness in this, but that only gets you so far.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And the Rams it felt like they were a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
With their play call.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like in that game. It was just like they weren't trying to go
I agree.
hard on them. And even though Cooper Kupp got me a lot in the fantasy.
That guy.
Play that dude every week in daily
incredible.
fantasy. Check us out with the OSG report too. He was monstrous.
All right, next one. How many times do we have time for? 3 more or 2 more?
We can do 3 more.
3 more. All right. The 49ers Colts game last night was
gross. Just nasty. Just monsoon, bad passes. We got chest passes to the interception, looking like Bobby Boucher. Like I'm surprised that Winston run up and do a drop kick on the linebacker after he caught it. Where's the guy at? There he is. It just did not work. It was just bad.
It was bad.
And that's where the insurance, the fraudulent stuff came out. People were asking, somebody mentioned this on Twitter. It said that the defensive pass interference is turning into the NBA stop and follow me foul or whatever that James Harden and Trae Young always did. And teams are taking advantage of it. They underthrow the pass. The corners aren't going to pay attention. And then the wide receiver jumps in the air like this, keep underthrowing them. And guess what? Pass interference, spot foul, first down.
And then in Jimmy G, his worst tendencies sort of rear their ugly head. I know the conditions were just god-awful in this game. So in a game like this, you'll spot a quarterback 1 turnover. I get it. The ball slips out of your hands, or you're throwing it doesn't quite get to where you want it to go, or the wind knocks it down, whatever it is. So I'll give you 1. But I believe he had 3 turnovers in this game, a la Patrick Mahomes, right? And it's just the message is becoming more and more clear. As much as I don't believe that Trey Lance is ready to play yet, that when he's healthy, they probably have to permanently move off of Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't get Lance back in there and then run him at the other team's defensive line 20 straight times. Don't do that. But it's pretty clear. I could see it in Garoppolo's face. He knows that it's time to move on.
I think it's the biggest problem with the Trey Lance situation in this is that we feel like your boy doesn't like him like that. He doesn't trust them like that or something. Shanahan don't trust him.
I don't think so. No, because there are portions of the playbook he wouldn't even open up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, that's not a good thing. So,
Okay,
what else?
Enough. All right, next one. The Patriots beating the Jets 54-13 means the Jets need to
move out of the AFC East.
They can't.
I know.
They have a contract.
They're stuck. No, they don't even have an option. The NFL's like, no, you're stuck here. No, what they need to do is just take a bye week for the rest of the season. Seriously, there's nothing that they're going to do. I don't even think they're going to win another game this year.
You know what's funny about that is I took an early season futures bet, the over-under on the Jets win total. You want to know what it was?
1-6. And you took the over?
I took the under.
Oh,
did I say over? I took
you.
the under. I thought that whoever created this either runs the sports book or they were smoking crack and nobody noticed, because 6 wins for this Jets team.
They have 1 win opportunity left. Jacksonville. And I think
they're not going to win that game
either.
They're not going to win that game.
That's week 16.
Because Jacksonville's actually getting a little bit better and better each game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking that you may want to take them against the spread against Cincinnati next week.
What's the spread right now?
I don't see it yet, but
I can't. Zach Wilson is out for probably a month.
Oh, they got Mike White.
Yeah.
That's throwing the ball for them now.
Yeah.
That's been the running joke because no one has never heard of the dude. It's 9.5 Cincinnati.
I can't touch them
at MetLife.
I cannot touch the Jets. I cannot touch them. All right. Lastly, when God created Jamar Chase, he said,
"It's me."
It's me.
No, he's unreal.
So you're welcome, Bengals.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
What was that? Well, how do you not? Because this is not a big dude. This isn't like T.O. or Randy Moss. There were like three Ravens trying to tackle him, and they couldn't do it, and he was gone.
What is that? It's why Cincinnati drafted him over Penei Sewell.
Yeah, and I bashed that pick. I was you need to protect Joe Burrow.
Yes.
But
hey, supposedly the Cincinnati, this is a rumor I heard, the Bengals were working out with, the offensive line was working out with Willie Anderson.
Mm-hmm. He's Hall of Famer, right?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Smart.
That may be why their line is playing so much better right now. So I can give them that.
Okay.
But Jamar Chase is just unreal. And you know what else? To even add to that real quick, giving a quarterback an elite receiver like this, a safety net, and then letting him use it changes everything for him. Changes everything. Similar to the way Hollywood's playing in Baltimore right now. Now that they're letting Lamar really throw it deep to him and forcing Hollywood to get out there and get better. Same thing with Jamar Chase. It's unreal.
Man, wow. I mean, you didn't think it could get better with Justin Jefferson, his old teammate last year, breaking rookie records. He's probably going to shatter those records now.
This reminds you also of how dominant that LSU team was. And Jamar Chase wasn't much of it in some of the playoff games.
We saw it live.
Yeah, we saw Jefferson. Jamar Chase was chilling that game. And then he went off the next game.
Right.
Stupid. Thanks for tuning in here on the YouTubes as well as wherever podcasts to download and listen to. Thank you for listening to us here on Unfair Sports. We're going to jump into the fun conversation. This is actually a discussion. This is the discussion portion of our show. It's usually the 4th segment. The NBA last week went 3 days of announcing 25 portions of the 75th anniversary team. Now, this teams were selected from a panelist, a group of people with different criteria in their own minds. They all voted for who they felt like should be on this team. And so we had, of course, a lot of the greats that you would expect. Your Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, your LeBron James, Hakeem, your Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, etc. But the conversation was really about those that didn't make it and those that did that we are questioning. So I'm going to mention some of the notable missings. And Jimmy, I want you to tell me, who do you think should have gotten in and who you will replace with said name? So we have Tony Parker, Dwight Howard, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Joe Dumars, Grant Hill, Kyrie Irving, Chris Bosh, Manu Ginobili, Dikembe Mutombo, Klay Thompson, and Penny Hardaway. Those are some of the notables, as well as Alonzo Mourning. That's some of the notables. So, Jimmy, who do you think should be considered one of the 75th greatest players in NBA history, and who would you replace to put them in?
Okay, well, I'll start with the one that most people have started with, but I'll give my reasons because I think I have a bit of a different spin on it in a way, and that's obviously Klay Thompson. When you look at this, yes, Klay Thompson. When you look at this list of 75, part of what you're looking at is you're looking at those individuals who helped to change basketball. When it comes to the 3-ball era, people tend to focus more on Steph Curry and how his just unbelievable ability to shoot the ball from the distances that he can is what ushered in the 3-ball era. But it wasn't just him; it was the Splash Brothers.
Yeah,
it was
true.
The other Golden State Warriors with Klay Thompson. So I don't think that he gets enough credit for how he helped to change the game as well, with how their offensive structure was really geared around, or at least they made you think it was geared around the 3-ball. It really wasn't, but I'll go into those details some other time. So I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And if you have Reggie Miller and Ray Allen on this list, and I understand that because, I mean, at one time Reggie Miller was the greatest 3-point shooter, then it was Ray Allen. But then, obviously, to me, Klay Thompson is a better 3-point shooter than they are. And the reason why they got in and he didn't, and this, what I'm about to mention, didn't just affect him, it affected someone else as well, is his personality. He's boring. Klay Thompson is a boring individual. Reggie Miller, not boring. He was the villain of New York, going back and forth with Spike Lee, going at Jordan, really pushing that team. Reggie Miller was not boring. He was kind of a villain in a way. Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth, he did movies, right? He played with LeBron and Bosh and Wade in Miami. So really, he wasn't boring either. Klay Thompson, he just bores people. And I think that unfortunately has worked against him to where they were willing to put Miller and Allen in there ahead of him when he is just as good as, or in my opinion, a better 3-point shooter, or by the end of his career would have better 3-point numbers than them. I think also that the 2 injury seasons that he has, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I think he didn't get into this, was because of those 2 seasons. But all things considered, add my name to the list of those who will petition for Klay Thompson to get on this. And if you're looking for some names or someone to get taken off this list, I've got an interesting one for you. Now, people are probably going to hate me for this, and that's perfectly fine, but it's more of asking the question why. And that is James Worthy. Now think about this. James Worthy, career 17 points, 7 rebounds. Yes, he won 3 championships with Magic and Kareem. One of them he won the Finals MVP, 2-time All-NBA. When you look at the list of the 75 on ESPN, which is what I looked at, it gives you like their career stats and it gives you their accomplishments. His accomplishments section was very, very small. Obviously, James Worthy is a great player. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but compared to a lot of the other individuals on those lists, I really question whether or not, I think by osmosis, just because he has that association with Magic and with Kareem, he made this list. But when the greatest players, when that discussion comes up, no one really ever talks about James Worthy or how he changed the game. So with Klay, especially when you add him being one of the best defenders in the game, I think he should have been on this list. And if you're looking for somebody to take, I've got other names, but I thought James Worthy would be among the more interesting ones to bring up. Take him off, put in Klay.
I can't even argue with you there on that. The one that I feel like should be in, and he's not in only because everyone hates his guts, it's Dwight Howard.
Personality, that's what I was talking about.
He's the perfect villain, though. He's the guy that everyone hated. But not even really with that. Let's have a conversation about Dwight Howard in Orlando.
Okay.
How ridiculous Dwight Howard was in Orlando. So this is some of the accolades. And like you mentioned, some of the accolades are the things that a lot of people look at when they put people in. Dennis Rodman's in there. And there's a reason why Dennis Rodman's in there. Dennis Rodman was probably the most dominant rebounder in NBA history.
And one of the best defenders
one of the best defenders ever.
Right.
Like, you can't argue against how impactful Rodman was. I mean, he averaged like 20 rebounds a couple seasons at 6'7". Playing against actual
205 pounds.
Exact, and actually playing against 7-footers in the era of playing at the rim.
Yes.
Back to the rim, post up, etc. Dwight Howard had a stretch in the NBA where people were actually asking the questions. We were, as fans, if he or LeBron James was the best player in the league. He had a stretch in Orlando doing that. Now, did Dwight Howard average a whole bunch of points? No, not really. His best years, he averaged 20 and 20, 22. in 2010, 2011, and that's when they went to the NBA Finals, beating LeBron's squad and basically making LeBron leave Miami because at a certain point, LeBron realized that not only was Orlando going to be a problem with Dwight Howard and anybody else around him, but Boston had to put together a big three to get through him. Dwight Howard was a walking double-double up until his time after Charlotte, until he went to Washington at 33. He had back problems, and that's understood. But Dwight also, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. That's something that's not very easy to do. And this is where accolades go up. 2-time block champ. 8-time All-NBA. 5-time All-Defense. Guys, I know y'all hate this man. I understand. He was a 5-time total rebounding champ. That's something that you cannot overlook. And as much as you hate the guy, he's not only played forever because he's been in the league since he was 19. So he's played in the league 17 years and he's still playing. Dude was a dominant force in his prime. In his prime, he was there. He was arguably one of the best player in the NBA. So you can't argue that. Yeah. Person I remove, Bill Walton. His ass don't need to be on there no more.
Jay, do you know who Billy Cunningham is?
No.
Hey, he's on the list. Take him out. Put in Dwight. There you go.
I'm not gonna see. I can't do that with a lot of the older ones that I didn't get to watch.
No, I looked at his write up. Take him out. I won't bore you with the details. Take him out. Put in Dwight.
I get it. Bill Walton can go though.
Yeah, he's another one. Now here's the thing though with Bill Walton. This is interesting. When I heard that Bill Walton was on this list, I was like, okay, I know exactly what this is. He has so much positive equity in basketball, in college and NBA basketball. Everybody loves him. He's always
right.
Blunted out of his mind. He's fun on television, etc.
He's a fun guy.
I was like, why is he on this list? Because I know for a fact he's not one of the greatest centers to ever play this game. Then I realized he had done something, at least from what I saw. Now, I could be wrong about this, but from what I saw, he's done something only one other person on this list has done. Do you know what that is?
What? Finals MVP,
Nope.
and MVP the same season?
Nope. He's won a 6th Man of the Year award and an MVP. The only other player to do that who was on this list, James Harden.
Interesting.
So I was like, okay. When I saw that, because again, you're looking for players who have either changed the game, who are a dominant force for a stretch, or did things hardly no one else had been able to do. And when I saw that kind of stuck me in my tracks as far as moving him off this list. And I wasn't able to figure out a way around that. Because if I do that, then you kind of have to move. Now, Harden has more. He has the scoring titles, and he has more accolades than Bill Walton. But I was like, if that's a big part of what defines why James Harden is on this list, if I move Walton off this list, I have to do the same thing for Harden. I'm not willing to do that with Harden, so I can't do that with Bill Walton. I was pissed.
I don't think you can. I don't think we can agree with that. I mean, Bill Walton played 10 years and only played in 468 career games.
Yeah.
That's what 46 games a season. In an 82 game, he missed so much basketball.
Okay, so then you mentioned Mutombo, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then let's take off Bill Walton. Let's put in Dikembe Mutombo.
I put in Dwight Howard for him, but
we took out Billy Cunningham, and then we put Dwight in.
We got to keep Billy Cunningham in there.
Why?
Because he was probably domominant in his actual.
Of course
era.
He was. They all were, but that's not the point.
I think that is the point, though. Is his dominance in his era? Okay. But one more. Now, this has been the big debate. Now, I don't know how I feel about this one.
Okay.
Hoopers love him. So I get it. I get the infatuation. But Kyrie, should he be in there? So let's dump into this real quick before we wrap this up and put the bow on it. Do you think Kyrie should be in there?
I think he should. He should be in there for one name that is on this list. And I hate saying this because I'm not a Kyrie Irving fan, and I'm a fan of this other player who is on the list who I feel like is not yet ready to be on this list, and that is Damian Lillard. And I think a big part of the reason why he's on this list is because he's such a tremendous scorer, and he is. But Kyrie Irving has 2 things over Damian Lillard. 1, I've got the sickest handles this game has ever seen. 2, I have a championship because I'm clutch. You may think I'm weird. You may think I'm crazy. All those things notwithstanding, again, putting those to the side, like what we talked about with Dwight Howard, Kyrie Irving should have been either on this list with Dame or he should have been on this list in place of Dame because Dame's not ready yet. By the end of Dame's career, he will be. But right now, Kyrie Irving should be on this list.
I don't think Kyrie should be on this list yet.
Why not?
And it's not because I hate him or any way or think he's weird, and though I do.
Yeah. We all do.
He ain't played enough. He's not in the lineup a lot. He's been missing a lot of games. If I'm going to do that to Bill Walton, I probably should do that to Kyrie as well. I mean, Kyrie's been in the league, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons, and he's played a career 582 games. It means that he has a average of about 58 games, counting 2 shorted seasons. With 2 shortened seasons, he doesn't play much.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
That's a bad look. Like the 1920 season, we know that was a shortened season because of everything with COVID. He only played 20 games. You know what I'm saying? The other shortened season, what was that, 2012 season? That was 11-12. He played 51 of the 66 games.
Okay, so you think that, in a sense, that surmounts what does define his career.
Right, because he only has 3 All-NBAs in his 10 years.
How many All-Star appearances? Like maybe 5?
He has 7 okay. Because it's a popularity
contest. And that was around the
contest.
average. The majority of the players on this list had at least 7 All-Star appearances.
Right, it's because it's a popularity contest. Now, he did get Rookie of the Year as well as an All-Star MVP award, so that helps.
See, All-Star
in the
MVPs,
conversation.
we just kind of throw All-Star MVPs out, but Rookie of the Year, that counts a little.
Well, I mean, I think among your peers, some of the best that's supposed to be playing that's got voted in there. You're able to come out as
you know how that works, though.
It's another popularity contest too.
Well, as far as All-Star Game MVP, whoever just decides they want to take the most shots, or whoever's hometown it is, if the players really like you and they want you to win the MVP,
they give it to you. They force
there are
feed
ways to get the MVP.
I agree. You're right with that. But it's the 3 All-NBAs, and I think the only reason why he hasn't really gotten more All-NBAs is that he just isn't available. And I feel like availability should be something you consider because that means that you're the most dominant in your era and you're actually exerting your dominance. And if you're not exerting your dominance as the most dominant player, it's kind of hard for me to say, well, yeah, if he plays, he's the greatest out here. Okay, but he has to play.
Yeah. No, that's a good counter.
That's my only counterpoint with Kyrie. Now, I think that if he finishes the next 5 years and he doesn't have to play 80. If he plays about 70 for the next 5 years, because he hasn't played 70, he played 70 games or more in 3 seasons out of 7 that counted. Right?
Yeah, maybe get one more championship. I mean, if you have James Harden and Kevin Durant, you should be able to get at least one.
Exactly. Okay. So, all right, Jimmy. What's on our editing room floor?
Editing room floor. There were a pair of Michael Jordan game-worn rookie sneakers.
Oh, God.
That sold recently. Let me find the total here for you.
Somebody's got Jordan stanky feet in their hands.
$1.47 million.
That's disgusting.
It is. What's the most you've ever spent on a pair of J's?
I think I spent $250 on. No. Technically, it's $250, but I did spend $500 on one of the DMP packs, and it had 2 of them, 2 shoes in one box, and it had they were black and gold ones, and so I had to have them not only because of my Greek affiliation, but they were really dope. And I still have the box and everything. It's like the box is actually the play, the game-winning shot, the drawing of the play of the game-winning shot is on the box. I gotta show it to you. It's pretty dope.
It is pretty dope. Okay, all right. So let's just say. What's the most you'd spend on a pair?
$250. I wouldn't go past $250.
If you were a billionaire, what's the most you would spend?
$250. I'm not going past $250.
So cheap.
I am cheap.
I'm cheap. I'm cheaper than you, but even I mean, it depends. Like, okay, let me get the sneakers he wore when he broke my heart in Utah when he pushed Byron Russell and hit it became the game when he shot. I'll pay like $500K for those.
Yeah, I forgot that you were a George fan. I'm sorry to hear that.
I was a Malone fan, but anyway.
Ew.
Yeah,
don't say his name out loud.
Right.
Next, like Candyman.
All right. Up next. So this Thursday, one of the best Thursday night games in the NFL this season thus far. You have the Cardinals and the Packers. However, the Packers could be without maybe their second best player, and that is Devontae Adams, who has hit the COVID list. In addition to their defensive coordinator Barry. Do you foresee any way that they can win this game without Devontae Adams?
Nope.
No.
Just say no.
No Aaron magic.
No. There. No. Now, I mean, Aaron's probably will. Lazard has stepped up. Valdez Scantling isn't even back yet.
Okay. So this is an Aaron Jones game. You have to feed him in the run and in the pass.
Him and Dillon.
Try to hit Robert Tonyan, the tight end, who caught a touchdown in their game against Washington.
Which is a good pick.
Okay, all right. So lastly, tonight, Monday Night Football, you have the Saints at the Seahawks. Can we get a prediction?
Saints win 28-20.
Okay.
Geno Smith does have a good game, though.
Yeah. Does he end the game with a turnover as he pretty much has the last 2 games?
Of course.
Right.
Why?
Gino, if he didn't.
Why? Yes, it's tradition.
It is tradition.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
What you got?
Oh, man. I'm going to go. See, it's in Seattle.
And it's ugly in that direction, too, weather-wise.
Yeah, I'm going to go probably kind of like with the game last night with Indy and San Francisco. I'm going to go Saints 31 because that Seahawks defense is still pretty bad. Saints 31, but Seahawks 27. It's going to be closer than most people think, and the Seahawks will cover.
Okay.
Yep.
Seahawks cover. We'll go for it.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it? You think it's going to be it?
I was trying to remember the spread. It was 4.5, but Seattle's getting 4.5, so yeah, they cover.
There you go. So, hey, we appreciate you joining us as usual here on Unfair Sports. Make sure you check us out like on the YouTube page. Like, subscribe, share, everything. Rate us and review us. Give us 5 stars. You think we deserve it? Yeah, just give us 5 anyway.
Give it.
So, for Mike, Bob, and Wendy, thank you so much for doing what you do best out there. Co-host Jimmy, you'll have his one topic in Phrozen 5 for you later this week.
All of our podcast outlets, we go for 3 straight winning weeks.
3 straight winning weeks.
Making money together. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're going to make this money together. I'm going to have my actual power rankings this week because last week was a cluster. This week is actually a lot better. I'm going to tell you your top 10 teams. Video will go up first thing Thursday. So with that, we chop it up in a few days.
Peace.